Today on Steelers Talk, there are two new wide receiver targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers that have been thrown out there. Today, I'll react to those potential rumors at the wide receiver position, as well as a surprising 2025 Steelers mock draft that has the Steelers taking a quarterback in round one. I'll give my thoughts on that as well. And then make sure you stick around to the end of today's show, because yesterday we reacted to the Najee Harris decision from Omar Khan to decline his fifth-year option. I've got some more thoughts on that I want to share with you guys at the end of today's show. But before we get into it, make sure you click that thumbs up icon to kick off today's show. If you are a real one, it is the best way to help out the channel for free. It takes half a second of your time. Really do appreciate everybody that clicks that thumbs up icon. And if you're pumped for the 2024 season for the black and gold, do me a favor, like today's video. So let's start with the rumor here from Jarrett Bailey, who's kind of a big Steelers personality on Twitter, who said, "I wonder if the Saints are a team the Steelers called. Chris Olave could be a sneaky name in all of this. Clearly, New Orleans isn't going anywhere. Maybe they'll finally acknowledge that, strip everything down, and rebuild. I could also see Chris Godwin also being a potential name." Now listen, man, when it comes to Chris Olave, who is still super young, he's super productive, he's a really good player, still on his rookie contract, there is no way the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be able to acquire him, okay? Even if New Orleans wants to strip it all down to the studs, right? Chris Olave is still very young. He can be a building block for them in that rebuild. It makes zero sense for the New Orleans Saints to unload Chris Olave. He's not expensive. He's still very young. He's extremely productive. They have no incentive whatsoever to unload him, period. He's their number one receiver right now. Why would they do that? So there's no way Chris Olave is going to be something that the Steelers end up maybe they give him a call, but I just don't see any way that the New Orleans Saints even think about letting him go. And listen, man, Olave's not even the most likely player that the Pittsburgh Steelers would trade for. In my opinion, that would be Marshon Lattimore, the cornerback. We know that the Steelers still need another starting corner on this football team heading into the 2024 season. Lattimore is a really good press man corner. That's what the Steelers like to do here. And I'm looking at Lattimore as somebody that, might cost a third or a fourth or maybe even a fifth-round pick if Omar Khan can finesse the New Orleans Saints a little bit, and he's a great fit for the defense now. I think the Saints are going to keep him. I don't think any trade with the Saints is going to end up happening for the Steelers this offseason, but watch out for Marshon Lattimore as potentially an option. And even at the cornerback position, like I would rather sign Stephon Gilmore in free agency for a way lower contract number and way lower contract than Marshon Lattimore, right? I just think that Gilmore is a really, really good player. Still, even though he's a little bit older, you sign him to a one-year contract. It's not a long-term commitment, whereas if you trade for Marshon Lattimore, you have to give up draft capital. You probably got to give him a new contract, and you got to really commit to him long-term. That's not something I'm really willing to do. So if you're looking for a corner that you can plug and play right away on the outside, I think Stephon Gilmore is the pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, when it comes to the other receiver that Jarrett Bailey brought up in that post here, Chris Godwin is a better and more realistic option in my opinion, but I still think it's pretty unlikely. It seems obvious to me, based on the behavior of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this offseason, they're trying to win now. They just went to the playoffs last year. They won a playoff game with Baker Mayfield and crew. They brought back Mike Evans. They haven't made any of these big trades that people kind of expected them to make, and I do think that they're going to run it back with the weapons that they currently have on the roster. So I don't think it's impossible that Tampa Bay unloads Chris Godwin here because he is on the last year of his contract. They just paid Mike Evans. They might try to get something for him while they still can, and I think he's a great fit for the Steelers. So this one's more likely than Chris Olave because that one's just not happening, period. But, Chris Godwin, I think at this point will be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer as well. And this comes after some pretty recent wide receiver signings in free agency around the National Football League. DJ Chark ended up signing with the Chargers last night. Somebody that a lot of Steelers people wanted to add to this wide receiver room ends up going to LA. And then Odell Beckham Jr., who I've suggested on the show might have been a decent option for Pittsburgh, ended up going to the Miami Dolphins this morning. So listen, man, on the free agency market, the options are definitely getting thin for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's going to be interesting to see here what the Steelers end up doing because, like I said, the options are getting pretty thin at wide receiver, particularly on the free agency market. I do think Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin are trying to get a trade done for a bigger name receiver like a Deebo Samuel or a DK Metcalf, or they're trying to land a bigger fish, so to speak here. So I go over all the top names on the wide receiver trade market in this video here. We put it on the channel earlier this week, so I'll put the link to that in the comments and description of today's show. DK Metcalf, we talk about Deebo Samuel, we talk about Brandon Ayuk, Courtland Sutton, all the top names and the likelihood that they could become Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason. So you don't want to miss that. Make sure you click that link that we have down there in the comments and description. Now, predict it for me down there in the comments. Which wide receiver, if any, do you think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to add to the roster this offseason? For me personally, guys, I think Deebo Samuel might be the most likely option at this point, but also keep your eye out for Courtland Sutton, DK Metcalf, and some other names that I know the Steelers have called about. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time, but let me know which wide receiver you think is going to be wearing black and gold this season. So now let's move over to next year's NFL draft here, where ESPN's Jordan Reed, who's one of their top draft analysts there at ESPN, has the Steelers selecting Quinn Ewers, a quarterback from Texas, in the first round of his 2025 mock draft. Pretty interesting pick here. This is what Jordan had to say about why he has the Steelers going QB in round one. Yes, Pittsburgh just redid its quarterback room, but Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, with a declined fifth-year option, are both on expiring deals this year. Ewers is still inconsistent with ball placement and downfield accuracy, but he has all the traits you'd want in an NFL quarterback, and another season in Steve Sarkisian's offense could help catapult his development. This is a bit of a projection. Scouts had day 3 grades on Ewers for the 2024 class before he decided to return to school, but there is potential here. And listen, man, Ewers was one of the most highly touted quarterbacks coming out of his high school class. Of course, he's been kind of rumored both in the 2023 and the 2024 draft class as somebody that could be a potential first rounder. Of course, he's going back to Texas for presumably his last season of college football this year. But honestly, guys, I really hope that this isn't the case, because if this ends up happening, that means the Pittsburgh Steelers severely underperformed this year, and both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields weren't able to get the job done, and the Steelers are going to let both of them walk in free agency. And I really don't want that to happen. And honestly, guys, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm a believer in Russell Wilson because, listen, man, this isn't a system where he's going to have to really carry the load, right? You got a great running back duo here. You got some nice weapons to throw to. You're going to have a great defense to lean on. Of course, you got a great head coach in Mike Tomlin. Russell Wilson's going to be asked to, do a little bit of the quick game stuff, a little bit of the deep shots off of play action. That's the type of stuff he's comfortable with, and he's one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League, who had a pretty decent season last year, at least if you look at the statistics. And honestly, guys, he beat teams like the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs last year with a worse team there with the Denver Broncos. So with a really good, well-run organization here in Pittsburgh, I think the Steelers are going to have a lot of success with Russell Wilson. And if I'd have to predict it right now, I think that he's going to get a long-term extension for the next 2 to 3 years to be the number one quarterback for the black and gold. But even if Russell Wilson stinks, you still have a really good plan B option in Justin Fields, who's extremely talented. And if Russ stinks and, you bring in Fields for a 4 or 5 game stretch to finish the season and he shows some good things, then I think he gets the next contract to be the number one quarterback option for this team moving into the 2025 season. So I really, really hope that the Steelers aren't looking for a quarterback in the 2025 class here, because I think this has been well established at this point. We're not expecting the 2025 crop of quarterbacks to be very good, okay? Plain and simple, you look at the number, you look at where Pro Football Focus has these guys ranked, and it's pretty rough. I mean, looking at the names here, Carson Beck is expected to be the number one quarterback in next year's class. If he would have came in this year, he would have been around the same areas like Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy, in my opinion, right? And that's your number one guy. Then you got Shadir Sanders, and we all know that he and his dad are kind of doing some kind of crazy stuff on social media right now, calling out former teammates and players for the Colorado Buffaloes, all these different things. And, of course, prime is saying, oh, I get to decide where my son goes. Yeah, not exactly their prime. But then you get Quinn Ewers here, who is ranked 32nd on the Pro Football Focus Big Board for 2025 right now. Who knows, another year in that Sarkisian offense. Who knows how far he can rise up the ranks here. Jalen Milroe is somebody I think you should keep your eye on. Really good deep ball and really athletic and really, I think you can designate him as kind of a dynamic rusher of the football as well. So if he gets a little bit more, crisp and clean with his mechanics and his mental processing, I think Milroe could be the guy that moves up the ranks here. And then Drew Aller from Penn State, somebody that I know a lot of you guys are familiar with here in Pennsylvania. Honestly, guys, I don't love his film whatsoever. He's got the physical tools, so who knows if he develops here with another season with the Nittany Lions. But honestly, there's a reason why he's ranked 61st on the Pro Football Focus Big Board right now. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Will Pittsburgh be looking for a brand new quarterback in round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft? Predict it for me by giving me a yes or a no down there in the comments. So now before I go today, I do have some more thoughts on the Najee Harris decision yesterday to decline his fifth-year option. And at the end of the day, guys, I do disagree with this move from Omar Khan. I'll go over a couple reasons why I think he made the move here in just a second, but I do disagree with it because I like the combination, the thunder and lightning combination here with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. Now, you can certainly talk about which guy is better, and we will later in the show here in just a second. But I do think Najee is worth keeping on the team here for the next 2 years. I think he would have been worth picking up that fifth-year option, and that's what I would have done. However, I can understand, okay, I do understand why Omar made this move. Because, it opens up opportunities for you in 2025 that, maybe you wouldn't have if you would have picked up this option and would have made Najee Harris a top 12 paid running back in football by just picking up that option. And by the way, that is fully guaranteed. So here's some of the reasons why Omar Khan probably made this move for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you do have more money on hand for 2025. So if you trade for a wide receiver like a DK Metcalf or Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk or whoever the case may be, you have money available to give them an extension after that trade goes down. Plus, if Russell Wilson has a good year like I'm expecting him to have, you have money available for the next couple seasons to give him as well. Then also, what if Najee just isn't good in this offense, guys? The big gripe I've had with Najee in the past is that he just has really bad vision. Okay, he's something that Jaylen Warren does exceptionally well is he can see the holes and really exploit them. Najee doesn't really do that. He's more of somebody that just puts his shoulder down at this point in his career and tries to move the pile. And, that has value, especially in short area situations. And I'm not trying to say Najee's a bad running back. He's not. But, the vision is definitely something that's not great. And in this wide zone system where you really need to have good vision, that is a concern. So it's very possible that Najee just isn't a great fit for this wide zone run scheme here with Arthur Smith. Then also, if you're going to pay a running back here, which one are you going to pay? Are you going to pay Najee Harris or are you going to pay Jaylen Warren? Because I know the Steelers, with their philosophy, kind of the Howie Roseman Eagles type philosophy, they're not going to want to pay both of them long term here, okay? So if you got Najee Harris here versus Jaylen Warren, Jaylen has the highest yards per carry, okay? He's got more rush yards over expectation. Okay, he's got the higher Pro Football Focus grade, and he's got a way higher points above replacement as a rusher. Okay, so you look at that right there, and in this graphic, in this comparison, I don't think it's any choice here. Jaylen Warren is the better running back option for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is the best running back on this roster right now. Now, I know Najee has the supporters. I understand that. All right, he's a first-round pick. He's a very big body, all these different things. He can take some punishment in terms of getting down there and kind of doing the dirty work and taking the big hits. But Jaylen, there's just a certain amount of electricity that he brings to his game and vision that Najee just simply doesn't at this point in time. And not only that, but Jaylen's an excellent receiving back. He's a really good blocker on third downs as well. When other teams are blitzing, like he is a dog, man. And he's not only a dog, but he's an electric in open space. I absolutely love Jaylen Warren. I think that if the Steelers are going to pick between the two of them long term, I think that the easy choice is Jaylen Warren. And it's like if you have Warren on your roster who is better than Najee, why would you pay Najee top 12 running back money and make it fully guaranteed for 2025? So listen, I do disagree with the move. I'd rather keep these guys in the running back room for the next 2 years and just lock that up. But I understand why Omar Khan made the move. So let me know down there in the comments section. Do you agree with me and think that Jaylen Warren is the better back here, type JW, or do you think Najee Harris is the better back between the two guys here? Type NH if you want Najee, JW for Jaylen Warren. That'll be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate your support. If you want more, content from me on social media, you can find me at Jack_Sperry. I post Steelers content on there every single day, channel updates, all that great stuff. Then also for more NFL content from me, I'm at sparedog.football on Instagram. So make sure you click that subscribe button right now. Join the Steelers Talk family, because if you made it to the end of today's video, you liked what you heard, and you watch our videos and you're not subscribed, join the family today, man. I guarantee you that the only thing that you're going to regret is that you didn't subscribe sooner. You get notifications every time we put out videos. It is absolutely fantastic. We got over 51,000 Yinzers that are already joined our family here with the biggest Steelers Talk community here on YouTube. So really do appreciate your support. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until tomorrow, here we go, Steelers.